Good evening, and this is Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre channel. My name's Jacqueline Dixon. This is Paranormal Peeps with Wes Coleman from Canada. How are you doing then, Wes?
Doing great, actually. Considering the situation we're all in over here, everybody's in it, the COVID situation. Hopefully it won't be too long before we're out, though. But luckily enough, I've got a little cottage up north on a lake that I can escape to and forget about what's going on in the rest of the world.
Oh, I'm so glad you can get to that cottage. It must make a world of difference. It really, because I've seen photos of it. I've seen photos of the lake and everything.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
incredible. I'm very lucky I inherited it and very fortunate to have such a beautiful place.
that's just so, that is fantastic. And I've been camping, and just to get a bit of fresh air and just be out there, it's a lot different, isn't it? From
And don't
we've
forget the
been
mozzies too. We got lots of those mosquitoes, which are big pests.
ah, I don't like mosquitoes one bit. They like me.
Yeah, well, that's a part of Canada, are those darn mosquitoes, to put it mildly.
Away. And I'm sort of heading towards Scotland later on, and they've got these things what bite you as well. They're
Yeah,
horrendous. So if
love
you've got like a
Scotland.
certain temperature, that's it. You just get a cloud of these biting things. And I've never met anything like them before.
Right.
So
Maybe
it's that
midges, is that
always.
what they call midges?
Yeah, they're called midges. Yeah, I've only encountered them once, but I've been to Scotland loads, but I've never really had decent weather up there. So yeah, so that'll be interesting. So where did the paranormal start with you then?
Well, it hasn't been I'll say it hasn't been a traditional road for me. I've really always had the interest in it from a young child. In grade three, I read a book called Some Canadian Ghosts by Sheila Hervey, and it really got my imagination going. At a young age, you're not really thinking, all the aspects of investigating the paranormal, but I think we all start with the imagination of the other side and what it's all about, and so I never really had any kind of encounters until I was a teenager. And even when I look back on it now, I saw a face in a window and just with the naked eye, and it looked like an older man. But now that I look back on it, I think it could very well have been pareidolia. And now that I'm a little more experienced into the paranormal. And then from there, I had my first kind of real paranormal experience at a bed and breakfast with my ex-wife, and we heard it was around midnight, and we heard like kids running around in this building, and there's about 8 rooms in the building, and we thought, the neighbors are really, you know, their kids are out of control. We're all trying to get some sleep here.
No.
And I went out into the hallway, didn't see any kids, didn't hear any kids or anything like that. Went back into the bedroom, heard the kids again, like they were crazy. So I had phoned the person that runs the bed and breakfast, and I said, this is going on, and it was like there was silence on the other end of the line, because she was well aware of some of the things that have been happening there, and
Wow.
and she was shocked, and she didn't really want to admit that the place was haunted because she was worried about the negative publicity. But it was an incredible experience, and that kind of really kind of shoved me into the direction of finding out, what's all this with the paranormal, like what's it all about. And I started back then. I'm saying this is around the year 2000, 2001. I
Right.
started watching Most Haunted, like most of the people in the
Yeah.
UK. We had it over here as well, and really enjoyed the whole history behind places, and the actual investigations that they did. I'm not a big fan of the screaming and the yelling, but but it got me into it. It got me interested, and then now I talk to Richard Felix, which is like so cool, because I watched him on TV for so long.
Yeah.
But that really kind of got me going, and then it was around 2010, I'm going to say, I decided I'm going to form my own team, and I really want to investigate this more and find out more about it. And am I missing all this stuff? Because there's so much that's involved with the paranormal. When you first get into it, you're just thinking one dimensionally, but once
Yeah.
you start investigating, you realize there's so much more to it than just that. When I started, I was very all about the facts and the empirical data and that, and like I was all about knowing about the physical evidence to make the paranormal real. But then I realized after doing this for a couple, 2, 3, 4 years, that there's a lot more to it than that. And I used to kind of, I wouldn't say laugh or jest, but just I wouldn't take empaths and psychics. I wouldn't take them seriously. But that really changed for me. Some of the abilities I have, I'm definitely not a psychic, but definitely empathic. I have a lot of feelings when I go into a location, which I had before, but I just refused to acknowledge them. And I
Yeah.
found once I opened myself up more and made myself realize that there's so much more to it than I could ever even imagine. Then I started having a lot of different experiences, and really, really incredible, an incredible journey.
Yeah, I didn't believe in sort of the mediumship side of things or anything. And yeah, I was very similar. And then you realize there is something happening and it's mad, isn't it? But
Absolutely.
but taking you back to that first place, which was haunted then, where you're with your wife, how did you feel? Were you scared or I know it started you on your path.
Actually, I was pretty excited. My wife at the time, she was a little on edge, but it certainly added to the atmosphere.
Yeah, I
It
bet.
it was more of an annoyance at the beginning because we're trying to get some sleep, and
Yeah.
these kids, or so-called kids, are driving us crazy. And the owner of the place actually went on to say that um, back, like, this bed and breakfast is an old mill that was on a river that processed lumber and that sort of thing coming down the river. And it was transformed. It was derelict, empty for quite a few years, about 40 or 50 years. And then they changed it into, they thought that it would be a neat place to have like a VRBO or a bed and breakfast. So they did that, and they made 8 rooms out of it. And she was saying how they were getting all these stories of people having these experiences with the children. So she investigated it a little more and found out in the 1950s, a little boy and a little girl and their dog happened to come into the building when it was empty, and they ended up falling and dying
Oh
in the
no.
place. So the dog was actually the one that ran back to the house to get the parents to come, which was an incredible story in itself.
Oh
But
wow.
it was too late by then, and they had both perished, unfortunately.
Oh
So their
bless
ghosts
you.
are still seen and heard. Right? We didn't see them, but heard in this building.
Wow. Have you ever been back?
I'm sorry.
Have you been back there?
No, I haven't been back. It since closed. I don't know, maybe because of the paranormal. I'm not really sure, but they did close it down for a period of time. Whether they've reopened it, I really haven't kept track. It's quite a ways from here, so it's
Yeah.
not something I kind of kept focused on. I just wanted to, after that, I wanted to go to other things and experience different locations instead of going back to the same one.
That's great. A quick shout out then to everyone watching. So, hello to Lucy Jane Castle, Van Hunter, thanks for joining us. Bloss, hiya, thanks for joining us. Carl Hodgson, Liz Cornell. Carl's been interested in the paranormal from an early age, but on ghost nights prefer to go alone to rule out other people. That's certainly an interesting one, isn't it?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question? Sorry, my speaker's a little off, folks. I
Oh, it's
apologize. My
fine.
Bluetooth speaker isn't working, so I'm unfortunately having to listen this through the phone. So I apologize if I don't hear the question correctly.
Yeah, it's okay. So Carl's been interested in paranormal from an early age, but on ghost nights prefer to go alone to rule out other people.
I, we do. We manage a property here. It's called Picton Heights, and it's an old military base. And in 1969, they closed it and they put an asylum in there. A lot of people with um, a lot of mental disabilities. And they started that in around 1969, I believe, or 1971, and then that was functional until 1999. And
Wow.
there was a lot of things that happened there, a lot of experiments, people that died there as well.
Yeah.
So it's an extremely haunted location. So basically what I'm trying to say is that we do our public investigations there. So we'll invite people out from the public, maybe usually around 20 people or so. It's a massive location. It's a square mile. That's how big it is.
Wow.
And lots of areas, lots of different areas that are more active than others. And so we'll do an investigation there and have the people come out from the public, usually about twice a year, and give them an idea what it's like to be on an official investigation. And people just love it. But I also, obviously we do stuff on our own. We do a lot of, my team is COPS, Correctional Officers Paranormal Society. And there's 4 of us, and we also do a lot of residential cases and help people, which is probably the most important thing. One of the big reasons why I got into this is to help people understand what it's all about. After, of course, I was in the field for a while, so I could get a grasp on what it's all about. Yeah, I do enjoy doing the publics. I do enjoy letting people know that, it's a lot different than watching it on TV.
Yeah.
It's all about a process. It's not, you don't get haunted activity or paranormal activity every few minutes. It's not like the TV show. Sometimes you'll go a
No.
whole night, you might not get anything, but then other times you'll get stuff, every half hour. But it's all over the map. So we try to teach people basically what it's all about, and not just the TV portion of it.
Yeah, that's brilliant because they come along with ideas, don't they, of what to
Yeah,
expect, but then you actually show it how it is,
yeah, it's
which is
actually
great.
so different, so different. And but
Yeah,
like, they're selling a product, right? So it's entertainment, and
that's
once
right.
people realize that ghost shows and watching TV is different than actual investigations, then then they're better off. Now, I won't say that for all ghost shows. There's some really great ones out there. Are You Haunted is a great show. Phil Wyman
Yeah,
and Sarah Wyman.
they're lovely.
I mean, I won't go into all the different shows, but there's Connor Bedell and Paranormal Encounters is incredible. All like excellent shows that are as close as you can get really to the real thing.
Yeah, that's right, because they've got to produce something which people will watch, but you want it to be real as well.
Exactly.
So if you're doing a show and nothing happens all the time, then you're not going to get the views. And
Well,
this is why you've got the entertainment side coming up. Sort of, they're getting the ratings, so then you've got to do something to match, haven't you? And it's a
yeah,
hard one. It
yeah, and
really
that
is.
happens too. There's lots of false evidence on some
Oh
shows,
no.
and but that's just because they're trying to get the viewers. They're trying to get people captivated by it, but not at all like real life.
Yeah, and we sort of can see through that as well, can't we? And if you watch it, you just sometimes laugh because it's a bit, yeah, far fetched. What can you
Exactly.
say? So Andy saw, this gentleman. Wes says you're a true gentleman of the paranormal and really stand out as a warm and genuine person, incredibly supportive and knowledgeable. The community needs more like Wes. There you
Oh,
go.
wow, man. Andy, thank you so much. I'm a huge supporter of the Haunted magazine. Just an incredible magazine, incredible people that run the magazine, Paul and Andy,
Yeah,
incredible
definitely.
people that write the stories in the magazine. I have a lot of friends that do, that are just phenomenal people. But thank you, Andy. That means a lot. I really appreciate that. I'm very humbled.
That's cool. So if anyone's got any questions for Wes, just add them to the chat. So we've got Noreen Hill watching. We've got Thelma Abraham all the way from Sweden. Thanks for watching. We've got Bloss. We've got Jane Rowley. Hi, Jane. Hope you're well. Luke Allerton, Breaking Paranormal. And Wendy Williams. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, add them to the chat. So you go out with Richard Felix. Well, no, Richard Eastep. Wrong one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Richard,
that's
and
investigating.
I get their names mixed up sometimes too, so it's an honest mistake. And we
That's
do talk about
terrible.
Richard Felix from time to time too, so it kind of just, there's a lot of Richards in England.
Yeah,
There's another name for a Richard too, but I won't say it. But anyway,
yeah, we
so
do.
yeah, Richard. Gee, now you got me thinking Richard Felix too, which is horrible. But Richard Estep is an absolutely incredible guy. He was so nice enough to let me into his fold a couple of years ago. We actually met through a lady that you probably know, Corinne Bassan.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know her from Bristol, and she introduced us because she thought we had a lot of similar similar passions, and we're from the
wow,
same kind of, like, he's a paramedic, was a firefighter. I'm a correctional officer, so we had a lot in common. And she decided to get us to meet online. And Richard was nice enough a couple of years ago to invite us out to Colorado and investigate an old West jail there called Cripple Creek Jail, which was haunted, and was an incredible experience. But we both, along with a gentleman named Jason Fellon, who is another one of his fold, were there, and we had some amazing results. And we glued and gelled from there. And he took us to an old abandoned gold mine, which is like a mile down into the earth.
oh,
And
wow.
we kind of did a little bit of looking around for Tommy knockers, which was kind of fun. And then he took us to the great hotel there, in Estes Park, Colorado, where The Shining was. Does
Wow.
anybody remember that place?
Oh, yeah. That is a brilliant film. Love it.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was a tour guide there, did the ghost tours. So he
wow.
had a very good appreciation for the place, knows it inside and out, and was able to show us around, and it was spectacular. And then we just, our relationship flourished from there. I was invited to England to work on a project with him. We went to the Bodmin jail
Yeah,
where he wrote a book, The Hanging Pit, which we did research on, which I was very proud to do that with him. And then after that we went to a place in Michigan, in the United States, to investigate Gacy's Ghost, a book about
yeah.
the serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, who haunted an old theater, the Haunted Our Theater, which is owned by a gentleman named Robin Terry. So it's just kind of went from there. We've went from place to place, and unfortunately, it's been 15 months since I've seen him
Oh,
because of the
no.
lockdown. The U.S.-Canada border has been shut down, and we're basically hostages in our own country, as I'm sure everybody can well
Yeah.
appreciate there. So I'm hoping at some point this summer things will change, but we'll just have to sit tight and wait and see.
Yeah, fingers crossed for you. I do hope you can sort of get together again and do what you both love doing, really.
And
Um,
that's what I miss the most, is the people. one of the greatest parts of doing this is the people, and the people I've
Definitely.
met through Richard. All have the same kind of philosophy on the paranormal, all willing to learn new things. Um, Nobody comes across as being arrogant or egotistical or narcissistic.
It's better.
They're super, super people. And I've been so blessed to be able to work with them. It's been a ride. And unfortunately, as I said, it got kind of cut short about 15 months ago, but hopefully we'll get back on the ride very soon.
Oh, bless you. Have you had any more ideas about how you want to investigate when you get back to it? Because you've had time out.
Um, well, I'm really at this point developing more of my empathic abilities. It's always been a struggle for me to get them under control, to understand them, to be able to use them when I want to use them, because sometimes things will happen and I'll get that reaction, but then other times it'll be just quiet and I can't function at all. So I'm just kind of learning like how to tap into it.
Yeah,
So in the next while, I'd like to expand more on that, because when I first started it, as I said, it was all about the empirical data and
yeah,
learning about the physical evidence. And now with learning more about my empathic abilities, I want to expand on that and bring that in as well. I've had some great success with it so far when it works,
yeah.
but it doesn't always work. So it's really difficult. It really is.
Yeah, you sort of get to a stage where you see the gadgets and you know the gadgets can interact, but then you want more information and more validation, don't you?
Well, absolutely, and I was always about the gadgets, but the more and more I'm doing this, I think the gadgets are kind of, and don't get me wrong, I think a lot of them are very good uh, devices to kind of enjoy for entertainment and maybe give you an idea of what's going on. But a lot of them are just, if you spend too much time focusing on the devices when you're doing an investigation, you're missing so much that's going on around you. Like you got to get your head up from the EMF meter, or
Yeah,
I think the greatest inobtrusive device that you can use is a recorder, and you can bring that,
yes,
or you don't have to have your head buried in it. You can be listening to everything going on. I have awesome speakers at headphones that I can listen to, and I'm going, from place to place. And it's that to me is an invaluable device. I think if there's any device, that's the device. Um, and I used to put down the ghost box because I found it very loud, but I never really knew how to use it properly. And
yeah,
one of the things that I've been doing a lot lately is something called the Estes method, which I'm
yes,
sure a lot of paranormal investigators are familiar with, where you actually hook up your headphones to the ghost box and you're blindfolded, and you have the headphones on, and people ask you questions and you start spitting out answers that you hear on the ghost box, so you can't actually hear the questions. And it's just, you can't see them talking because you have a blindfold on, and you just spit out the information. And the information that I've received over the last couple of years has been just incredible. And it's an incredible way to, like, if I encourage everybody to try that, because it's a double blind experiment. So the information that you get, if it's right on track with the questions, it's absolutely incredible. And we've had some amazing results with that.
yeah. I had some amazing results 21st of May with the Estes method. And the whole process took 4 minutes because I was listening and it kept coming. I kept saying stop. So they decided to cut it off because whatever was answering the questions, which actually made sense,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like it's like, do you want to stop? And I said stop. So that was it. I was like, what are you doing? Because obviously I didn't know the questions and
yeah.
what was happening. And I was like, gutted really. But yeah, they're respectful and that was that. Which is
And
brilliant.
you start to go into a bit of a trance too, when you're actually the subject of it and you're listening. And because you're kind of moving your focus of yourself out, and
Yeah.
you leave yourself open to suggestions of things that are coming through the ghost box. And sometimes you may hear things and you kind of wonder, did I actually hear that, or was that something my brain put in there? Because especially with the empathic stuff, it goes together and it gels together. And sometimes you'll hear things that you'll feel are like, wow, like what, like that's
Yeah.
intense, like intense feelings. I was at a location where I felt and heard words that were of a sexual assault nature. Somebody was being sexually assaulted,
Oh gosh.
and I was getting very upset. And to make a long story short, the client had actually been sexually assaulted on that property,
Oh
and
no.
that was nowhere to be found. Like, it wasn't, obviously it's not on, Google or
Yeah.
anything like that. It was very private. And I just remember taking off the earphones and going over and hugging her. And even now, I'm like, I get emotional about it, but the tears are rolling down my face. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. Like, it was just an incredible experience. And it was one that, even though it was horrific in nature, um, it was it was powerful, very powerful.
Yeah. Oh no. I don't. It's horrible when you see something so graphic, though, isn't it? And
Yeah,
experience something so graphic, and to realize that
exactly.
someone's gone through that and they're like showing that to you as well
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
ways.
But that being said, not everything's negative, and
Oh
that's
no.
a lot of misinformation in our field, that things are always negative, demonic. I hate that word,
Oh
demonic.
no,
But
don't.
things are, I believe in negative energies and evil energies, but a lot of it's good. Like, I've been to locations with Richard where in a place in England where I went into the building. It was an old manor house, and I felt nothing but love. I just felt the family there. They were
Wow.
all there, and they were just loving being with each other. And it was awesome. Like, it was such a great feeling, because like, one of the places we specialize in are old prisons. So when you go to these old correctional facilities or prisons, it's a lot of it's negative energy, because a lot of people are,
Yeah.
in the worst part of their lives. So this energy is resounding in there. So when I go to a place that makes you feel really good, it's such a nice change. It really is.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Because with paranormal, you do seem to pick up people's pain, don't you?
Yeah,
And the suffering, and that's generally sort of what comes through. I've
yeah.
got a
And
question from Carl Hodgson then.
okay.
What's your view on trigger objects?
Well,
Reaction to
I think
questions.
they're great. I think it's an amazing. You know what? I don't put down anybody's way to try to communicate. Everybody has their own method, their own ways. I don't. I may not agree with it, or I may not like it, but hey, we don't know what the paranormal is. There's no guide as to how you do investigations. I mean, there are ways to do it properly, but not specifically.
That's
Now,
right.
trigger objects are great because, and I've used those before. Actually, the Picton Heights, the old military base at an asylum that we do a lot of our research in, we sometimes play music from the 1940s, like wartime music, because that was a war base, or a military base at that time.
Wow.
And so we'll play the music, some of the, like, Glenn Miller and Count Basie, and because it stirs up emotions. It really stirs
Yeah.
up people, the good times of that era, so music is a great trigger object that I like to use as well.
Yes.
And obviously, toys, when you're in with children and that sort of thing, try to develop a rapport with the child's spirit by using toys. And talking is very important as well, when you're dealing with children. Is come down to their level, talk like a child, or talk as if you were talking to a child.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think also you have to speak to people as well.
absolutely.
Like some things people say when they're at an investigation, they're a bit mad, aren't they?
Well, that's it, right? And that goes to proper etiquette during an investigation, is knowing your audience, who you're talking to, and being able to have them understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. Question from Jane Rowley then. What is the most unusual thing you have encountered on your paranormal journey?
Wow, that's a banger, that question. There's so many. I have to say though, probably the most incredible experience I ever had was I went to Aleister Crowley's cottage in Cornwall,
Wow.
the Cairn cottage, which is no longer accessible to anybody because it's privately owned now. Somebody has bought it. They're actually rebuilding it. But anyway, when we were there a couple of years ago, it's a long hike into this place. Anybody that's listening from Cornwall will know it's a bit of a hike up onto the moors. And as I'm walking up I was with Richard sorry, I've forgotten her name. She's going to kill me.
Karen.
Treadwin is her last name, anyway. And we went up to the as we were walking up the hill, I started to get very excited. Like this is a place that that is a bucket list place. I never
Yeah,
expected I'd ever get to in my entire life.
that's
And
awesome.
so as we're approaching the place and we go inside, there's the people have kind of vandalized it, which was really not very nice. And there were graffiti on the walls and like old sleeping bags. And I think kids would go up there and party, I think basically is what actually would happen. But also I think there was satanic rituals that happened thereafter to try to bring the ghost back of Aleister Crowley. But as I got in there, there was a place and upstairs to the place, an attic, where there was a ladder going up. And I thought, oh, I'd like to have a look up in the attic. And so there's like a hole in the ceiling where this ladder goes through. So I'm
Yeah.
starting to go up the ladder, and all of a sudden I just start getting nauseous, and I'm starting to feel kind of iffy. And I'm like, okay, and again, I'm still kind of honing my empathic skills, so I'm kind of not really paying attention to it. As I'm climbing higher and higher through the hole to the attic, I just start retching. Like I just start, like I uncontrollably start getting sick. And so I'm running down, not running, but flying down the ladder and out the
Oh,
door.
no.
And I'm just retching and getting sick. And it was such a horrific feeling. Now both Richard and the other young lady we were with, they both went up there and never had an issue. Although she said that she felt like this vortex in the floor, and she's somewhat psychic, and she felt that this stuff was going around and around, and she may have
Okay.
thought that I was feeling that way because I was in the middle of this vortex.
Oh, wow.
But we went out, took a hike on the moors for about a half an hour, came back. I started going up again, same thing.
Wow.
So I thought I've had that situation happen to me before, but not that intense. I mean, it was intense. It was beyond belief for me. I couldn't believe I had that reaction.
Wow. That is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
exciting,
unpleasant,
but
but
not so exciting.
yeah, exactly.
As you're puking up in front of your friends.
Yeah, it's really gross, but ultimately, it's such a moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
You just, when something like that happens, and then to actually get the validation that you go back and you just encounter it again, it's just brilliant. Yeah, I love things like that. But
yeah,
yeah, you've got to say it's paranormal because it is. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
who
think,
knows? You just leave that door open, and maybe it was paranormal. Maybe there was a logical explanation. Maybe I was, allergic to the things that the other two weren't.
well, yeah.
Who knows, right?
Well, yeah, like that's true because I say that I can't explain it, and like, that's the thing, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's something
And
you won't
that's the
forget,
other
though.
thing I always say is I never tell people that something is paranormal or something is haunted or like 100% because we really don't know, right? And
No,
all I can do is make a suggestion to people that, yeah, like I have a strong feeling that there are things that are happening here that, are paranormal. But it's up to you whether you want to believe them or not. I'm not going to tell you that's the way it is, but and that's why I don't get offended when people challenge me all the time. I know there are investigators out there that get all upset because they get challenged so much, but at the end of the day, you have to decide, why are you in this? Are you in this because you want to prove things to yourself, which is like what I am, or are you trying to prove it to the world? I mean, honestly, I couldn't care about the rest of the world as far as what I'm trying to prove. Number one is me, and
yeah,
all I can do is give people the information, and if they don't want to believe in it, then you know what? That's fine. I'm okay with that.
yeah,
It's it sounds maybe a bit selfish, but I think that's how you get through this kind of this research and work, is to first of all and foremost, it's you learning about it yourself, and
that's
not
right.
not to be worried about what others think.
Yeah, that's it. Like I've encountered like one spirit in 4 different locations, and I've picked up more and more about this character. Is there anybody that you pick information up about and you've met them in more than one location? A spirit or some, well, if you sort of communicate, is there a certain person that you communicate with more frequently?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there somebody at the jail that you pick up on?
Yeah, it's yeah, the jails that we go to. We've been to a few of them. A lot in the States, obviously the Bodmin jail, which I
Yeah,
recommend anybody who hasn't gone there to absolutely go there, because it is absolutely incredible. The place is, if anything, get the history just makes it come alive. And now they've
yeah,
redone it. And a lot of people are upset that they've redone the Bodmin jail. But people like, they've invested a lot of money into that place, and to keep it somewhat the same as what it was, yeah, it's a hotel now, but it's a lot of it has been preserved, and that wouldn't have happened. It would have just fallen apart if somebody
that's
hadn't
right.
stepped in and made it a great location. So
Yeah,
I definitely, there's the lady that runs the paranormal there. Her name is Kirsten Honey, and she's an amazing woman. And if you ever see her on Facebook, you'll see her commenting on posts. She'll be able to give you more information on it, or just go to their website. But definitely a very cool place to go.
yeah, it's definitely on my list because Bodmin Moor itself is, wow, it's eerie anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
I've been up there and it was the only place where there's just this mist when I went up there, and then, yeah, there's something about it. And
Yeah,
then,
it's and that's the other thing. History is another reason why I do this, is because I love the history behind places. And if anything, you come out of it with a knowledge and understanding, and an education regarding places. And I've been through to a lot of places across the world now, and I can honestly, you know, picture in my head the different locations just because of the history that I learned. And
yeah,
I recommend everybody. Everybody has their reasons for being in the field, but that's definitely one of mine.
yeah, and you've been to somewhere that I'd love to go. I've actually been there as a tourist, but I think you've investigated it. The pyramids in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, if you ever
What?
come to Canada too, the door's open here. I can show you a couple of places as well.
Oh, that'd be cool. It's beautiful country, Canada is. It
Yeah,
really
very.
looks amazing from the photos. So I really like photography. So yeah, it's such a cool place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, it's fantastic. Carl says, he says the strangest thing. It was not a ghost hunt, but a daytime visit. It's Lancaster Castle and a guided tour. He gets a chance to be locked in one of the cells, and as the guide opened the door, a young boy looking into the cell started to shout, no nasty man. He had sheer fear in his face.
Wow.
So it's
I've
intriguing.
been to Lancaster Castle.
Oh
I was there
wow,
probably about I'm going to say 6 years ago or so with my cousin. And it wasn't for an official investigation. You could only go a certain distance inside. They wouldn't let you in certain areas. But I did get a resounding feeling in there, like I do in most prisons. But more death there than anything. But it's a beautiful location too. I really enjoyed it there.
wow. So Von says she wished she'd known you when she went to Canada a year ago.
Oh, that's sweet.
Just of
Yeah,
all the
if
awesome
you're ever
places.
over, look me up on Facebook, and we'll we'll try to give you an idea of good places to go to that you could investigate. That especially our place here is, as I said, is very cool.
Yeah. I'm so gutted that we missed Edinburgh because that would have been brilliant, wouldn't it? So they're due to meet up in Edinburgh Easter when all this COVID started, but it just went to pot.
Yeah,
Yeah, but hey ho.
Edinburgh holds a very special place in my heart. I've been there 3 or 4 times. The I was very fortunate enough to get into Mary King's Close by myself one night,
Wow.
which actually, well, my cousin was with me as well, but just the two of us. And it was like a last minute thing. We did the tour during the day, and I said to the tour guide, I said, "What's the chances of getting in here one night?" And she recognized I was from Canada. And she goes, "Well, you've come a long distance, haven't you?" I said, "Yeah, we're here for about a week or so." And she goes, "Well, I'll talk to my manager and I'll see, what the odds are of doing something like that." So later on, she came back to us and she said, "The manager's going to be in here late tomorrow night doing paperwork. If you guys are interested in coming in, you can, have the run of the place, but we're going to charge you £500 to go in." And I'm
Wow.
like, £500? That's a little much for two people. I don't really think I can afford that, Like I said,
Yeah.
and then she said, "Well, how much do you think you can afford?" And I said, "Well, I'd go £100, like for two of us to be all alone inside Mary King's Close for the night." I said, "Yeah, like I'll do £100," and he accepted it. So
Oh, that's
we were there
brilliant.
until about 2 a.m. when he, wrapped up. There, what people probably don't realize is there's cameras all through there, so they can see your every movement. So they knew we weren't in there kind of messing around and stuff. And although we had very little activity as far as the devices go, the feelings that I got in that place were just out of this world. It was an incredible night, and although not on the top of my list as far as experiences that night, it was definitely a place a bucket list place to get to, and to be
Wow.
just two people in the place. Oh my God, it was incredible. And then about 3 years after that, we went back with Karen Besant and her crew as a couple of teams. There's probably about 15 of us in there. So it was a little bit different that time. We have a lot more people, and of course, contamination. And what a lot of people don't realize is especially as just two people, when you're in there, there's a lot of noise contamination that comes from the street above. And a lot of people
Wow.
think, they're getting EVPs of talking and stuff, but it's actually the street above you. So that's one thing we're very cautious about. We do a lot of debunking. So
Yes,
if
that's
you're ever
right.
there and you hear voices, just make sure it's not coming through the street.
Yeah, you get that all the time though, don't you? There's a lot of locations where you do get sounds and it's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
just have to debunk everything and, just go with it after that. Do you go to the Scottish castles? Have you been to any?
I did a tour of the Edinburgh Castle. I did a tour of uh, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my brain isn't functioning
God
100%
bless
today.
you.
Um, the other castle that's out of Edinburgh, just north there, where William Wallace was.
Okay.
Oh, that's terrible.
Actually,
Anyway,
actually,
I've been.
I've got a surprise guest who's going to come on, and she's from Scotland.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Um, yeah, Lois Haddo. I know you've spoke to a few times on Facebook, and
Yes.
yeah, so let's welcome Lois on. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
We're just
Hello
talking
there.
about Scotland and castles.
I can't out, guys.
Can't you hear us? No.
Well, she's got
5 minutes, I'll be
sound.
back.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Oh well. Chris Wilcox says it's Sterling.
Yes, Sterling.
Sterling.
Thank you so much, Chris. Smack me in
Hi,
the head
Chris.
because I'm just sometimes not thinking straight. But yes, Sterling, and then the William Wallace Monument we went to, which was incredible as well.
Wow.
But I love, like, Scotland is a second home to me. If I wasn't living in Canada, it would be Scotland. I'm sorry to, you know, um, in the English
Yeah, it's
people that are
fine.
watching. I don't
Yeah.
mean to say that
No.
England isn't much better, but it's I love, my family's originally from the borders, so
Right. Yeah.
around that area. So Langham, Scotland is actually where they're from. So when I go back, it's all my ancestors were from there. But like, our family came over here in the 1850s, so it's not like there's any direct bloodline there anymore. But
Oh, okay.
love Scotland.
Yeah, I do. It's different. It's a different feel, isn't it? And
Yeah,
you get sky as well, and I don't know the atmosphere there. You just can't.
it's just
It
so
just seems to,
peaceful. Like, it's just
yeah,
incredible. And you know what? I find that about Cornwall too. Cornwall is very similar in a lot of ways. I am a huge part of my heart's down in Cornwall too, just because it's that serene.
yeah. It's the Celtic language, isn't it? The traditional. You've sort of got a different language there as well, and yeah, it is a different place and different. Yeah, the music, the whole package, really. The whiskey,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, if you could go anywhere in the world, then where would you want to go?
Well, I've
Place.
always wanted to go to the Hoya Forest at some point. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. In Vlad's Castle in Hungary.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard a lot of stories about the place. I've heard a lot of research done there, and how there's a lot of mysterious activity, especially in the Hoya Forest. Anyone who doesn't know that place, it's the place that they've had it on several TV shows, where in the middle of the forest there's this huge scorched place where nothing grows, and it's uh, it's just a phenomenal looking
Wow.
place, because you hike through these woods and then you get to this place, and they think maybe aliens maybe have landed there, or UFO, and nothing has been able to grow there since. And then they think there's a compound in the soil that prevents things from growing. There's all different perhaps logical explanations, but there's also a lot of activity that happens there. There's lights that flash all the time, and lights that go forth and past and through the sky, and it's just an interesting place that I'd like to check out. And then, of
Yeah.
course, Vlad's Castle is notorious. It's
Yeah, that's right.
Dracula's castle, and
That looks
there's been
awesome.
several shows on that makes it look interesting. Now, again, they are shows, but it would still be a very cool place to look.
Yeah. There's just so many places around the world, and you've been so lucky to have traveled to so many like great places.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to travel to a lot of different places, a lot with Richard Estep, and I've been very lucky. I'm just so happy to be able to help him out though as much as I can.
Oh, bless you. Has anyone really scared you?
Well, that's a good question. I don't really ever get really afraid. If anything, I get excited. Like I get
Yeah.
really, my adrenaline gets going.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm kind of no stranger to fear as far as, I mean, you do get fear, a little bit of fear, not uncontrollable fear. I mean, you wouldn't be
Yeah.
human if you didn't have some kind of fear. But I've been a correctional officer, a prison officer, as you would say over there, for the better part of 26 years. And I served on an emergency response team for 18 of those years,
Oh,
which
wow.
would go to like riot situations and
Oh my gosh.
unmanageable situations where a team would need to go in and take control of a situation. So those are situations at the beginning where, when I first started, I had a lot of fear. Still had fear, in my last couple of years, because you never know really what to expect. But it's more about the adrenaline. The reason why I did it was because I enjoyed the adrenaline rush. It gives you such a high.
Yeah.
And doing the paranormal stuff is, if I want to draw a little bit of a similar line to it, is it does give you that push of adrenaline too. And I've been retired from that team for about 8-9 years now, and I still want that.
Wow. Yeah.
It's addictive, right? It's
Yeah.
like taking a drug, and you just want it so bad. You want to feel that because it's an incredible sensation.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. But do you find that you get more activity when you're actually in a correctional facility when you're investigating than somebody
Well,
else would because you're from that environment?
that's a great
Mhm.
question. Things usually happen one of two ways when we investigate a prison. Either things go off the charts, like they just amp like crazy, or they'll
Wow.
go extremely silent. And
Okay.
it's one or the other. There's no halfway. And I think because the fact that we're, as a team, when I work with the Correctional Officers Paranormal Society, when we go into a prison, if these spirits are still there, they really don't want correctional officers in the afterlife as well, right? So they get a little timid, or if they're rebellious in some way, they may just we may get hits all night long, and it's one half dozen of the other. Sometimes we'll go to a place for 2 or 3 nights, and one night it'll be dead quiet, and we're like, why the heck did we come here? And then the next night, well, we need a shield because things are coming at us left, right, and center, so
Yeah.
it's it's a roll of the dice. It really is.
Yeah. That's right. Do you take keys or anything? Do you take anything with you?
Yep,
Sort of.
that's a great trigger object for a jail is
Yeah.
keys, rattling keys.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll take a baton with us, and one of the things that irritates the heck out of inmates, which, don't get me wrong, we don't do this, but if you get a baton and you go down the rails or the bars of the cells, and you walk down and you make that kind of tapping noise as you're walking down the range,
Yeah.
that's a sign of disrespect. So that's one thing that you can do. And we don't really like to make activity happen by being belligerent and
Yeah. Yeah.
and rude, because I think there's a certain degree of respect and peace that you have to give somebody once they've transitioned into that afterlife.
Yeah.
However, some of these inmates were, I mean, you read their stories and what they did to people, and it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah. Right. We'll try and speak to Lois again then. Let's see
Okay.
if it works this time. So let's have another go then. How are we doing?
Hi. Do you
I
know,
can
I've
hear you. That's
not been
great.
that nervous since I interviewed Colin Connors, and it's like I've got one of my idols here at the paranormal, and I just don't know what to say. Except, hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm not bad. How's yourself?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. I'm just going to let you know my hearing apparatus isn't working correctly, so I'm kind of listening off the speaker on my phone. So I need to hear your voice a little louder. So if you're asking questions, and then I also have to kind of decipher that beautiful accent that you have and put it into, Canadian
Well,
accent. So
well, Jacqueline did ask about questions, but do you know what? The questions is totally out my head because it's just like overwhelming that I'm meeting like one of my favourite paranormal investigators. So it's just like, hi. But how are you guys anyway? Good day.
I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't hear that.
How are you doing in
Oh,
How
we're
are
Canada?
not
you
doing.
doing? Did you have a good day?
Yeah, we're not doing too bad. Things are, as I say, we're under the quarantine rules right now. So hopefully at some point we'll get some freedom.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Wes.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I'd love to get back to Scotland someday, to my second home.
Oh wow.
So, is there
Definitely.
anywhere that Wes should go then in Scotland, Lois?
There's a lot of places in Scotland worth investigating. There's places everywhere. I mean, you've got all the castles dotted round the map in Scotland. You've got. I heard you obviously when I came in, you were talking about the jails. I've actually investigated a jail myself, and do you know, listening to what you've took as trigger objects, that's gave me inspiration because I wouldn't have thought of that for objects to use to obviously get spirit to engage. So it is a good one for the brain to remember. So
Okay.
thank you very much, Mr. Coleman.
I think that's a good thing about talking to people from different areas
Oh
and
yeah,
the way that
definitely.
people's techniques are. And basically, if we're happy to talk to people and respect people, then we can learn things.
Oh aye,
And
Absolutely.
that should be what the paranormal community is about, shouldn't it, really?
it
Yeah.
should be it should be about working together and obviously if you don't know something, being able to go to each other and say, I'm having a bit of a problem here. What would you do in that situation? But unfortunately, in the paranormal world, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm
And
just,
since we're on Scotland here, I just want to do a shout out to Ali Reid and Colin Connor. I mean, we were supposed
Yeah.
to get together with them at some point the last trip, and this is before I knew Lois. But definitely like to get together. I've never gotten together with any investigators from Scotland. I've been together with investigators from England that we went to Scotland, but never investigators from Scotland. So I'd definitely love to do that someday and just kind of tag along with you guys wherever you go.
definitely.
And
I've been out personally with Ali Reid, and it was a great night. Great night. I've not been out with Colin Connors. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Colin, and I've not actually met him. But hopefully one day I would definitely put him up there. I would love to meet Colin Connors and your good self.
oh, great.
That was the first trip that I got cancelled on lockdown.
Oh,
The biggest thing, it was such a way to meet Ali, Colin, and yourself is like, but yeah,
These things
another
happen.
time. I
but
know.
do you know what, guys? I'll leave you to finish the show. It's just been a pleasure, Wes, to actually
Thanks.
come
Take
on and say
care.
hello. Not that I don't like you, Jacqueline. I love you to bits. But you guys have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, it was nice to see you.
Cheers.
You too, honey. Right,
Take,
bye.
take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers for that, and thanks for talking to us. It's been really interesting.
Yeah, that was
Thanks for
awesome.
your time. So you've got something on tonight, then, have you? I think I read on your profile.
Well, in Canada tonight, there's a very special hockey game that's going on, and those of you who know Canada know hockey is our passion here, and
Yeah.
the game 7 out of best of 7 series tonight is Toronto versus Montreal. And basically 99% of Canadians will be watching the TV, so I'll be one of them. And so those are my plans.
I just want you to have a fantastic time anyway. A great night tonight.
Thank you.
And I hope your team win. You've got to
thank
win.
you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Been absolutely fantastic, and good luck, and I hope you get some freedom soon to get out and about with Richard again. And thank you for your time. And thanks everyone for watching as well. Much appreciated, because it's Bank Holiday Monday in England. It's the first weekend we've actually had decent weather this year. So I guess a lot of people are actually outside having barbecues and stuff. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and
thank you for watching.
good night, everyone. Thank you.